Welcome back to Market Headline. Over the past 20 years, the growth of the coal industry has been rapid and it has become one of the main sectors of the state revenue. But of course, like any other industries, there are ups and downs. And invariably, we had a chance to analyze the industry from the expert of the field. To take a deeper look, let's see our interview with the Executive Director of Indonesian's Coal Mining Associations. When we talk about coal mining in Indonesia, for sure it has a lot of things to be discussed. From a love and hate relationship between government and the coal miners, to the price fluctuative of its coal price that maybe attract investors to gain its risk appetite. And right now, luckily, we have the expert on this field, and the foremost, he is the Executive Director of Indonesia's Coal Mining Associations, Mr. Hendra Sinadia.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you for coming to our associations.
Our pleasure.
I like about the introduction you just made that coal industry is very exciting, very exciting,
sure.
And then we are one of the most important contributors to the state revenues and also the primary energy source for Indonesian electricity. So coal is a very important industry.
Yeah, and I'm really interested on this association. Well, can you tell us a little bit more about how this association's role and everything between?
Well, maybe we can talk more on the association on the coal industry in the office.
We would like to.
All right. Okay, I'll take you to the office.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Sure. Thanks. As we know, sir, the price in coal is really fluctuative nowadays, and sometimes investors want to certain things. So probably I would like to ask, how is the outlook of Asian coal mining industry in 2019, and particularly in Indonesia?
Yeah, that's the risk of the industry, the volatility of the coal prices, commodity prices. It's like a roller coaster. So if you look at the coal outlook of the coal prices, is very interesting, especially in the last 2 years. In the 2012 until 2016, the coal prices was very in the decline, and then suddenly in the end of 2016, the prices was skyrocketed, and it stays until mid of 2018, and then it started to decline from mid of 2018 until now. The trend is declining, and Asia in particular is the hottest, the most dynamic market of coal, because China is there, India is there, so all the biggest coal producer and bigger coal user are in Asia. And Southeast Asia in particular is the most dynamic region in the world in terms of the development of coal-fired power plant.
Oh, I see. And how do you see the emerging market, the market development of over the next years?
Yeah, if you look at the next years, I think in the short term, coal still bullish. I mean, the coal prospect is still positive. Despite the prices are declining, but in terms of demand, or global demand looks stagnant, but there is still a market for Indonesian coal, because our coal, Indonesian coal, is very specific. It's very specific with a low ash and low sulfur, and it's like a favorite. China needs our coal to blend, India also, and Japan, other Southeast Asia like Vietnam, Malaysia, they all need our coal. Okay, so maybe we can talk more with coffee or tea. Would you like some?
I would love to have
tea?
Tea? Probably tea.
Oh,
I'm going to go for tea.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you for the tea.
Oh, you're welcome.
And maybe for the next questions, it would be really specific actually. So government has said the coal price references for August, it is in $72, while in the previous month it was in only like 71 US dollar per tons. So actually, what is the driven factors behind of it?
Yeah, it's increased slightly. Yeah? The HBA. So the HBA itself is a composite of the 4 indexes. Yeah, indexes comprises of index from Newcastle on global coal that mostly represent Australian coal, which is different with Indonesian coal, and then ICI, the Indonesian Coal Index, and Platts, which represent more on the low-grade coal. So the slightly increase of the HBA this month because of there is an increase of demand a little bit in Korea,
Okay.
and also China demand a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You mentioned about China several times. So actually, I'm gonna ask you the next questions would be like, what is the relationship between Indonesia and China in terms of coal mining sectors?
Wow, it's a very important. China is the world's largest coal producers, and at the same time, they are the world's largest coal user. They produce more than 3.3 billion per year, but they still import about 250 million tons per year. And why important to Indonesia, China? Because China, import of coal from China accounts of more than 45% from Indonesia, while Indonesia export is about 25% goes to China. And the last year, around 122 million tons Indonesian export to China with the value more than 7 billion US dollars.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is the biggest Indonesian export commodity to China, and followed by crude palm oil. So coal is very important to China, and last year our association signed an MOU with our counterpart in China, China National Coal Associations. So China we see as a very important and very strategic partner in this case.
Oh, I see. And then, I promise you, this is the last question.
Oh, what is it?
So the last questions would be like quick question. Which poses the biggest threat for coal industry, economic or environment?
Wow, it's a very challenging question. Both are very important. Yeah, economic, we're talking about price volatility, and then the environment is of course we see the increase of environmental concern. We see the Paris Agreement, which limits the greenhouse emission, and coal is targeted as the people said as the biggest coal polluter. So if I may choose, environment will be the most challenging for the coal industry in the future, and we're proud of achievement of some of our companies in terms of environmental management. Some of our company has received the highest environmental management standard by the government. So I think this is a challenge for the coal, how to sustain their operational with protect the environment. Yes.
Marvelous. As I promised you before, this is the last question, so thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
In short, we may say that the fluctuative price of coal mining sectors is affected from several factors, begin from the global demand to specific country interests such as China, Japan, or Korea. But yet Indonesia's coal has always been importers' favorites since Indonesia's coal has low ash and low sulfur. And stay tuned to market headlines because we will wrap break after the break.